At 6 o'clock or so, I'll call this meeting to order, and maybe Mr. Ahern would lead us in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, we got a full house tonight, I see. All right, as is our custom, we'll first approve minutes of prior meetings, the first of which is our non-public work session from June 27th.
I move that we approve those as written.
Bill moves to approve those.
Second.
Seconded by Mike. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're missing Neil.
Oh, the quorum.
Oh, okay. Oh, there he is. And secondly, the minutes from our regular meeting also on June 27th.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve those by John and a second by
Second.
Bill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And finally, we have non-public minutes of the July 13th, 2016 meeting. We have a motion to approve those minutes,
So moved.
again by John and second by
Bill.
Bill.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The announcements here, we will meet on the following dates: Monday, August 8th, and Monday, August 29th at 6 o'clock, and the work review sessions almost always occur prior to the regular meeting at 5. Plymouth State University student move-in begins Thursday, August 25 through Sunday, August 28. And as has been the custom the last few years, I think, High Street will be closed at the Langdon Street intersection for both Thursday and Friday. The meetings I just described are all held here unless otherwise posted. Weather observations for the month of June are available in the town hall, and citizens wishing to be listed on our agenda should notify the town hall before noon on the Friday before the scheduled meeting. And then the first agenda item after that is I don't know how many of you have paid attention to this, but Plymouth Water and Sewer, of course, runs the water and sewer. Oh, okay.
Not written, that's first, Mike.
Okay. Obviously runs the water and sewer systems in town, and we believe that some of our stormwater drainage goes into the water and sewer system, and they want us to fix it, and they have had their attorney send us a letter saying that they want us to fix it. And we've discussed this briefly in non-public and have decided that we're going to refer this to our attorney to communicate with them about this. If anybody wants to, I won't read the whole letter, but if anybody wants to see it, it's available. And then our next agenda item is the appointment of Kristen Tracy by Plymouth PD. Chief?
Full house tonight.
Yes.
Anyway, I'd like to introduce Kristen Tracy to the board and members of the public. She is our newest hire. She starts tomorrow. The board already approved that. But a little bit about Kristen. She lives locally. She's married to Brian, who is a New Hampshire State Trooper back there. Has 2 young children. She graduated from UNH. And the last 7 years, she's been the lacrosse coach at PSU.
Nice.
Does anybody have any questions for Kristen?
Anybody have any questions for Kristen? Does Kristen want to say hello herself, or would she rather not?
Hello, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. All right, well, I hope you have a wonderful career in the town of Plymouth, and thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
she does need to be sworn in.
Yes.
Oh,
the important
okay.
part.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's why Karen's here. Yeah, yeah.
Hi, Karen.
Okay, Kristen, would you raise your right hand and repeat after me? I, Kristen Tracy,
I, Kristen Tracy,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully
that I will faithfully
and impartially
and impartially
discharge and perform
discharge and perform
all the duties incumbent on me
all the duties incumbent on me
as full-time police officer,
as full-time police officer
according to the best of my abilities,
according to the best of my
to
abilities,
the rules and regulations
to the rules and regulations
of the Constitution and laws
of the Constitution and laws
of the state of New Hampshire.
of the state of New
So
Hampshire.
help me God.
So help me God.
Officer Tracy,
Yes.
congratulations.
Will I have to salute every time I walk by your house now?
You have to really slow down on Reservoir Road.
It's official now.
Got you pegged.
I'll slow down my driveway, how about that?
All right. Oh, I'll take that.
Congratulations, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. All right, and the next item on our agenda is introduction of Bob Gaida, I hope. Am I pronouncing your name correctly, sir? I guess that's not it.
Yeah, it's right here.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay. Is it Gaida?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I haven't called names with none of those letters.
Good evening, Mr. Gaida. Sure. Yes, please.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, members of the public, members of the police department, and fire department. My name is Bob Gaida. I come before you as a candidate for State Senate District 2. I have served as a Marine officer. I have served the state as a state representative for 6 years, including 2 as deputy majority of the House. I have been a selectman in the town of Warren. I am on the school board, and I am the town moderator as we speak. I believe in public service, and I believe in integrity, and those 2 things have guided me throughout the entirety of my life and my career in public service. I'm running for the state senate because I think it is time for a change. The direction of state government, whilst one can talk about it, one can understand it best by looking at state budgets. In 4 of my 6 years in the House, I served on the Ways and Means Committee. We stopped the income tax, we stopped the sales tax, did away with the legacy and succession tax. All those things proved beneficial. The arm wrestling that goes on in Concord every 2 years for the state budget is in fact healthy. We don't want to spend taxpayer dollars without having a careful look given to every program and to every dollar that's spent. I'm running for the Senate because I believe I can be what you need in a senator. I have the experience, 3 terms as a state representative. I have the judgment. I have been elected numerous times to numerous public offices, and I have the experience to know what to do and what not to do in the legislative arena. I stand before you as a candidate. I would like to offer myself for any questions that you might have, or members of the public. I do believe that public service is a calling. I also believe that it's a 2-way street. I suspect later tonight you may find that there are some people here who are concerned with the lack of communication of state government with local residents and local communities in performing their duties. It's a 2-way street. We're expected to fill out reports and perform our obligations as citizens. I believe that government also has an obligation to the citizens to be forthright and to talk with citizens before they enact programs that might impact their lives. I would answer any questions from you, members of the board, or if, with your permission, for any members of the public attending.
Anybody want to ask Mr. John?
I would. What do you think is the number one thing you need to, or the state needs to handle if you were elected?
It depends where you are in the state. Drugs are a big problem. I've talked to the chiefs of police of Grafton County, met with them. I've talked to street officers. I've talked to heads of hospitals, Maria Ryan up at Cottage Hospital. I talked to the stakeholders. We do have a definite problem with narcotics. What we've done for the last 30 years has not worked. I worked as an FBI agent in the drug wars, and nothing's changed. The drugs have gotten more virulent. The addiction remains the same or worse, and so something is not working. And so we need to change something. I wouldn't purport to know what that is, but I do believe that all the stakeholders need to get in the same room at the same time and come up with a program for the state of New Hampshire and its people. The drug problem is harming our businesses. We can't find people that pass drug tests to get high-quality jobs, which leads to my second priority. This is about jobs. No matter what you say, no matter what problem that we have, middle-level wages are stagnant, and I've talked to comfortably 1,000 people or more in this district, and I go every day, I'm out to people and to businesses. There's no movement, stagnation in wages, because we do not have a job-friendly environment. New Hampshire is 48th of the 50 states for infrastructure for business. That's astounding, because 30 years ago we were in the top 5. We are lacking in infrastructure, meaning high-speed internet access. We're lacking in transportation, and we're lacking in energy. So jobs is what brings prosperity, not government, but jobs. And we have a hostile environment right now. We have just for the first time lowered, by the way, the business enterprise tax and the business profits tax with astounding results. We all of a sudden have a $100 million surplus in the state. We have an increase of nominally about 2,000 jobs that's been said have been created. When you lower taxes, you give businesses the opportunity to invest in new products, new markets, new employees, new facilities. Those are good. Absent that, everything is stagnant. Our school enrollments are declining. That's a bad sign. People are leaving the rural areas because there is no work. Business after business in every town I talk to says they're being strangled by state regulations. I really have an eye towards that. And what I tell people is this. The first thing I would do if elected is write letters to every commissioner in the state. And I would ask them what percentage of their budget is spent on administration and what percentage of that budget is spent on operations. And right there will be a very clear-cut picture of where we have fat and where we do not. So jobs is number 2. And the narcotics is probably number 1 because it's affecting everyone.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Neil.
What's your position on the Northern Pass?
I was here in Plymouth. It was the auditorium of the college 5 years ago when the FERC, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, proposed the hearings on this. And I opposed it then and I oppose it now. I would tell Northern Pass, bury it under Interstate 93. I think Plymouth has already had experience with a dig up in downtown Plymouth that has put several businesses out of business. We don't need the disruption. The second problem I have is the channeling of profits from our electric system to a Canadian company. That is troublesome to me. So I think that we need to be really careful about how we organize this so that our funds, our revenues don't wind up in the profits of the Canadian company. I would support it only if it was buried under Interstate 93.
Anybody else?
I can think of, I'm not inviting you to step in it, but regarding rumble strips.
Is anyone here that's interested in rumble strips?
Safety on one hand and noise pollution and inability to sleep on the other. How would you balance that?
Well, it is a difficult question. Safety is important, but we cannot protect everyone from everything all the time. Now, according to the DOT, and I've done a little bit of research, I'm not an elected official, but I still pick up the telephone because these problems are affecting me as a family as well. That apparently they put these rumble strips where they have a high incidence of head-on collisions. Well, I've seen places where I don't think there's been a head-on collision in a lot of years. Okay?
Let the man speak.
And the other part of it is this, okay? Again, as I said early on, the state has an obligation to tell you if they're going to change something that's going to materially impact your lives. I've talked to people in Bridgewater and Hebron and Bristol. They've had real estate sales fall through as the deal was getting to be inked because all of a sudden it sounds like an A-10 gun. And what was that? Well, that's the rumble strips in the road. The deal was canceled. Tourist business, okay, it was a mainstay of this region. And when you start putting that rumble strip sound at 2 o'clock in the morning or any time throughout the day over and over and over, that impacts the tourism, and it will impact people's wanting to come here. We have a very pristine environment. We've worked very hard as a state to preserve that environment, and I support responsible stewardship. There's a balance. I think the state government was remiss in not presenting that they were going to do this, asking for public input if they want. And I would suspect somewhere in this, there may be some federal funds that's driving this project. I don't know that. I haven't gotten that far in my inquiry, but I suspect that maybe someone from DOT might be able to answer that question.
Thank you. And thank you for coming in.
Thank you very
Appreciate it.
much, members of the
Yep,
board.
nice to meet you. And speak of the devil, the next item on our agenda is Ron Grandmaison. Is that how you pronounce your name? Probably not. Oh, hi.
Mr. Chair,
Concerning rumble strips, yes, sir.
I need to remind you that this isn't a public hearing.
Right.
However, I've received enough phone calls that I feel we should, and enough requests that people would like to speak after,
Sure.
but it should be conducted like a public hearing,
All
where
right.
they state their name and one person speaks at a time.
Sure.
And all
All
the
right.
other courtesies that we try to practice at a public hearing.
So, welcome.
Thank you. I'm not Ron Grandmaison, that's this gentleman here.
I
Just
thought
for
he's the one
consistency,
that,
But I've been involved with Ron in this. I'm Bill Cass. I'm the Assistant Commissioner for the DOT. And we've been involved with the Rumble Strip project and the fallout because of it. So I would like to just give a little bit of background and just kind of where we are in the process of vetting the feedback that we've had. More for the board, and I think some of the folks that we've been at public meetings have heard this, and I'll be very, very, very brief on the background. I forget the gentleman's name who was just here before me, but he was talking about the balance between, you know, safety and disrupting people's lives. These rumble strip projects were put forward to address safety issues and try to improve safety. First and foremost, rumble strips are a very low-cost means of addressing a safety issue, which is distracted driving and centerline encroachments leading to, fatal or very, very severe accidents. And statistically, nationally, across the United States, rumble strips can prevent or reduce severe and fatal accidents by like 40 to 60%. So that's proven that's out there. And it's those statistics that led us to look at what more we could do as a department to help improve safety. In the past, there were some very there was some very severe accidents in some corridors that got a lot of attention on Route 16 and like Ossipee and like Milton, Wakefield, and Milford along the 101 bypass, and along Route 202-9 in Hillsborough, Henniker. You may have seen it in the Concord Monitor. It was called Death Alley for a while after several very severe accidents. And in all three of those locations, we were reactive and we installed rumble strips after the fact, and they've had very successful results in reducing and actually and I think in the Wakefield Milton area, essentially eliminating some of those centerline encroachment and fatal accidents. As accident rates have come up, and as a state, we've done things to address address distracted driving. There was a state law passed in 2014, hands-free law, all aimed at reducing distracted driving. Our effort in that was looking at rumble strips and looking at if a broader application of those would be a beneficial safety improvement, and I think they would be. As far as the specific areas, there was a little bit of a misstatement here. Somebody said that they're put out specifically where there are accident areas of high fatal accidents, and that's not necessarily the case. That was the case on the three corridors I mentioned where we were reactive. We're trying to be, proactive in addressing this. So we did a very high-level statistical evaluation of the whole corridors and accident rates and severe accidents, and did a prioritization of various corridors to establish where we would look at installing rumble strips. And we had also developed internally a set of guidelines to follow. So that's kind of the background that led to the corridor improvements and corridor rumble strip projects that we had put in. Certainly when they went in this spring, we started getting a lot of feedback. in this area along Route 3A. Less so along the Tenny Mountain Highway, but a lot of feedback along 3A, and a lot in the Alton area too, where we've put them in the whole quarter. So we've been listening to this feedback, and I think certainly there is, we need to do something to remediate the impacts of them. We are trying to figure out exactly what that remediation is going to be. In Alton, we were up there last Monday night at a similar meeting. We've been out to a couple of local meetings, one here in Plymouth, one in Alton at a rally to get this feedback. And it's very clear to us that we need to do something to try to mitigate and address the noise concerns that people have. But I wanted to just put that in the initial context that, it was all intended as far as addressing, safety issues. So that's some of the feedback. In the Plymouth area, in particular, there are 3 areas that we've heard concerns about and that I think we need to address. The first area on the Tenny Mountain Highway to the west, approaching the traffic circle. There are some areas there where the speed limit drops to 35 miles an hour, and per our guidelines, we shouldn't have put them in there. So as a first order of business, that's one of the areas we're going to address and remediate and remove those rumble strips in that area where it changes from 50 to 35 miles an hour. The other area, and I'm kind of saving the most controversial one for last, the other area is the Tenny Mountain Highway essentially from I think Highland Street to 293. It's limited access. There aren't any driveways, and we have both shoulder and center line rumble strips along that area. I've heard a little bit anecdotally some concerns from people a little bit farther away. That's an area where we're really not sure how to address or how prominent the concerns are. Certainly there aren't residences and houses right next to it. There are residences further away on the other side of the river. We've heard from them. But that is an area very consistent in Alton. When we were up in Alton last week, we heard loud and clear from them that the shoulder rumble stripes, the ones right on the white line, were too close and were probably the largest problem of the incidental hits and the noise. That people tend to shy, especially on a wider road with wide shoulders, that people tend to shy a little bit away from the center line at higher speeds, and we get a lot more frequent hits along the shoulder line. So in Alton last week, they made it loud and clear that nothing less than removing the shoulder rumble stripes, because they're right on the white line, would be acceptable. So we took that feedback, we took that information back, and we're considering and looking into, essentially how we could address that. So if we're looking at that same situation there, by rights and fairness and consistency, we should be addressing Plymouth and the Tenny Mountain Highway the same way there. So that's kind of our thoughts there. The ultimate decision on what we decide with Alton and the Tenny Mountain Highway on the shoulder rumble stripes we're considering eliminating those in those areas, but keeping the center line rumble strips. It's a big road. It's wider shoulders. There's higher speeds, and the potential for encroachment over the center line is something that we have a lot of concern about, and I believe that leaving the center line rumble strips in those areas would still have a strong safety benefit. So that's kind of where we are on those areas. Probably the area that we've heard the most about has been Route 3A, about a 2-mile section from south of the traffic circle to the area of Bell Road. One of the issues that we've had in trying to deal with this issue is we've heard a lot of feedback that they're loud, that it's noise. And we've been out there listening, we've been out there trying to ascertain and trying to get any objective information that we can as far as what is the principal cause? Is it straying to the right? Is it hitting the shoulder lines? Is it passing maneuvers? Is it people doing it purposely that may ameliorate over time as they get use? And I think it's a little bit of both. Certainly at previous meetings in Alton and the meeting here in Plymouth, we heard a lot of feedback. What we're tending to hear is that the bulk of the problem is at least in Alton and other ways, where there are both centerline and shoulder rumble stripes, that the shoulder ones are causing the most of the problem. Second to that, on the centerline rumble strips is where there are passing zones that are causing a lot of the noise and a lot of the hits. On the area of 3A, south of the traffic circle, that is an area that it meets our criteria in terms of width. There aren't shoulder rumble strips there. There's just the centerline rumble strips. So that's an area that we are looking at and really considering. Our initial thought after the meetings and tests is and again, some objective information would help, that if the majority of the concerns are the majority of it being caused by passing maneuvers in the passing zones, because they're only centerline rumble strips, we would maybe first look at striping out and eliminating the passing zones. It's about a 2-mile section. I know immediately to the south of Bell Road there's a passing truck lane going up the hill to the south. So that has eliminating the passing zones has an impact on traffic, maybe a calming impact, maybe a frustrating impact. It's hard to know. So one of the thoughts that we had there to help to address the issue would be to eliminate the passing zones in that area. That said, we were also looking at the fact that that is a limited section, and we hadn't really done a full, unlike in Alton and some of the other areas we didn't really have a corridor-wide overall plan to address there. So in that respect, we didn't really look or evaluate the whole corridor. We are thinking that maybe we would pave those out, eliminate those centerline rumble strips until we can look at, maybe the entire corridor. Being honest with where we are, with where we're at, I know I told the folks up in Plymouth at the meeting that we would have a decision by the end of the month. This is a big part of it, getting any feedback from the town. I wanted to put on the table what we were looking at and considering. Again, I know as we've talked about it internally, we believe that it was still, the right decision to consider a broader application of rumble strips. They do have very real safety benefits, but we definitely acknowledge that we need to do a much better job with the public input ahead of time. We need to do a much stronger look at the location and placement and evaluate whether slightly shallower rumble strips could be as effective and have less noise. And again, I already alluded to the fact that I think we need to take a much broader, before we even consider putting them in, we do need to take a much broader corridor-wide length approach. So I probably went on longer than you had wanted, but I wanted to give a status update, and I guess I'll leave it to the board for any questions or how you want to entertain public
Any of
feedback.
us have any questions for Mr. Paul?
If I may, Mr. Chair, since I'm the one that receives most of the complaints at the town hall, I have a good idea why everybody's here, and I also live out there. I would throw my complaints right into the pile, but maybe before Mr. Grand Mason gets up and while we still have Mr. Cass, I'd like to express those concerns now so that maybe we can start to address them ahead of time so that we don't have a lot of redundancy going forward, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
We do have our statistics, and Mr. Murphy, our code enforcer, helped gather them. As you mentioned, it doesn't have to be a crossover, because we don't have crossover incidents out there, especially out on 3A. So that's one of the concerns. We weren't having a problem to begin with, and I realize that you are trying to broaden the scope of what to use rumble strips for, but we didn't have a crossover pattern where we were having head-on collisions to begin with. So that's one big concern that we have. Another one was a white line that you mentioned. That, just like in Alton, that rumble strip right on that white line literally doesn't cut it for us. Even our 1 tons from the highway department, we're hitting that all the time.
Okay.
And usually they're a couple of feet off the white line to begin with. But right on the white line, the other thing that we're getting a lot of complaints about is people use that as a bicycle path. DOT has marked them as bicycle paths. Now, they used to not be marked that way. They were supposed to represent the edge of pavement or the buffer zone, but they are marked now for bicycles. And we're having closer calls with people walking on the white strip and using their bicycles beyond, on the other side of the white strip, because it's almost a penalty to hit those rumble strips with your car. So before, individuals would drive up 3A, you'd see somebody with their bicycle, you would cross over the yellow line a little bit,
Okay.
to even let the person acknowledge that you see them, I see you, I'm not going to hit you, I'm going to pull over here a little bit more. I'll be darned if people want to hit that yellow line anymore. So we're getting a lot of close calls where we're going to create an accident, and we're not going to have a head-on, we're going to have a head-on cars or head-on.
That concern is vehicles, not the white line, but the center line rumble strips, and people being
Or not the yellow line,
reluctant
no.
to
Very reluctant.
pass
You know,
around
and I'm
the
not going to
bicyclist
speak for
or
the
walker.
chief, but if we've got one of our officers out there, and, you know, the patrol car is, as you would know, farther out into the lane of traffic to protect the person that they have pulled over. Now we got an officer that's standing there, and we're supposed to give him 10 to 15 feet. By state law, again, nobody wants to hit that rumble strip. So now we take out a police cruiser and an officer. But but the concerns I'm getting aren't from the chief on that area, he could speak on his own. But the walkers and the people that use that as a bicycle pass, as it's labeled by the state, are in danger now because people don't want to give that little buffer. And you know, it's one of those things that we all do naturally. Yes, we're not supposed to cross over the double yellow line, but we do it just for a little safety buffer. And we're taking that away because nobody wants to hit that rumble strip. The other questions are, why didn't it continue down to 3A? Why did it just hit Plymouth? I mean, you have the same amount of traffic south of where you stopped. So why is it all right not to have the rumble strips down there and only in Plymouth? I'm just talking about questions that are being brought to me.
Sure, yeah.
Why Plymouth? Why not further down?
Right.
Because it always seems like we're the guinea pig, we get tested first.
Well, no, it
But
wasn't.
no,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you what gets brought to me. I gotta deal with this all day long, so
yeah.
I get to pass it on to you.
Yep, absolutely.
You know, they're all here for these reasons.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to stop you from having to hear it 30 more times.
No, I
that's all.
appreciate that, good, no. No, and that's
it's,
exactly what I said, we recognize that.
And we
that
get the
didn't have
trucking
a
path at night that I'm
coordinated
sure you
approach.
know. And if you think you're gonna pull an 18-wheeler off that rumble strip, they ride that all night long. So we got the nighttime issue. And that's when we got kids, you know, children, families that are trying to sleep. I believe you were out there when we did that traffic count with 51 times in an hour and a half that strip got hit. That's a lot of noise. So they all equate to a lot of noise.
Yeah.
Coming down to why did we do them to begin with? You know, it wasn't like there was a big study out there and the trend was we're having all these crossovers, all these accidents. And yes, you want to broaden the use of rumble strips, and it's coming down to why out there. You know, maybe someplace else. But the one on the white line, I mean, show us other white lines in the state where the rumble strips are right on the white line. I mean, we've got senior citizens playing ping pong. They hit the white, they hit the yellow, they go back and hit the white. We're gonna have a much bigger problem with the rumble strips than we ever did without them.
Right.
because we haven't had a problem.
Okay.
Most of our accidents out there are animal-related, or people trying to take left-hand turns. So all the dots on here, they don't equate to a crossover.
Thank you.
John?
Yes, when this came up, I did a little test, and driving down 93 and going across those rumble strips versus, 25 here and 3A, I mean, it seemed like they were twice as deep. And, I think on that area there, you could actually almost cause somebody to lose control of a vehicle. They were that deep on 25. So,
We've heard that concern. I mean, we did, they are within specification, but that's one of the things we need to look at. If they're at the upper end of our
yeah.
specification, which is like 3/8
Yeah.
to 5/8 of an inch, we may have to.
But, yeah, but one thing that happens is, with seniors, they might be holding the wheel a little bit looser, and when they hit that, they don't react that fast.
Sure.
So that's one thing I noticed when I did hit them, that, it would jerk the vehicle a little bit. And then again, you could pull and you end up in the center line, which you don't have on 93, but that's what I noticed. And so.
Any other questions from Mike?
How are you getting your feedback from the residents of Plymouth?
We were at a impromptu meeting at Mr. Giovanni's farm. We were invited to, yeah, sorry, thanks. John. And Ron, my project manager, has been getting a lot of email traffic, so I'm trying to be responsive to
Because
all the ones that we get. So.
I've called the state twice.
Who did you call?
The governor's office, and I was told that I would get a return call, no return call.
Okay.
And so I'm sure if I'm probably not the only one that's called in, you haven't heard from me till right now. So there's probably a lot more feedback that you haven't gotten yet then, unless you want to check your messages. Next, the roads in Plymouth are pretty narrow. And I can understand rumble strips on 93, on major highways, but when you got a road that's as narrow as Route 3, that's 40 miles an hour, or you got a road such as 3A, and you're putting them right on the paint, it doesn't make sense. And the concerns that Paul made about trying to give room for bicyclists, and that's a really good point. I'm wondering whether this technology or the rumble strips are going to be such a moot point in another year or two, that technology is moving so fast. There's ways that cars can be, the driver can be told he's going off the road very easily without the homeowner who's living right adjacent to the road having to be woken up in the middle of the night. And this is just silly as far as I'm concerned. I'm surprised that we're even here having to talk about it, that you haven't understood our concerns.
No, I understand the concerns, and that's exactly why we're here, and that's exactly what we're looking to address.
Well, from when I called the governor's office, there's a gentleman named Ben. He wouldn't give out his last name. That concerns me, that he won't give out his last name. And he said, you've done all your studies, you know what you're doing, and it's coming. And that is just silly as far as I'm concerned. And it's very concerning to me.
Well, I can't speak for the governor's office and how they handled their constituent calls, but I can assure you, if somebody
may wanna
called the
call
DOT, we would get back to them.
So my question is there technology coming that can alert the driver he's going off the road? Because it's a concern, I guess. I'm sure it is, without having to impact the neighbors that are living across the road. Is there just a vibration for the car that is not going to vibrate the house?
I'm not sure. I mean, I read the news articles and some of the literature. I know there's a lot of talk about intelligent vehicles, Teslas, and things like that move into that's all I know about it. I've heard things like that type of technology is 5 to 10 years away. Other folks are saying that it's here today and it's coming a lot quicker than we think. So I'm not an expert on intelligent vehicles, but that's kind of the,
My hope is
they
that,
conferred on that.
my hope is that you listen to the townspeople from Plymouth
Absolutely.
today. And not just file it, but actually listen, and so, I'm
Yep,
done.
thank you.
Bill.
So we have a Subaru. It's got like that technology, and we've benefited from it too. I mean, it tells you exactly when you hit a line or if you're going, so that technology is today. So
Yeah.
it seems kind of like, retrograde to have to put in, a noise machine. And I also pity poor Ben, or is it, who's the guy in the governor's office?
Oh, we don't know his last name.
Well,
You only give out
Yeah,
Ben.
that's what I see. Executive Counselor Kenny is sitting in the audience looking at his phone right now, so, well, bye, Ben.
Anybody else up here?
If I might add
Yes,
one
sir.
thing to the gentleman's
We
comments
haven't
on
got a
smart cars.
comment yet.
Yes, that technology is there. I can say, I can speak from experience that New Hampshire is a live free or die state, and that's what our motto is. We forego a certain amount of federal funds because we don't have a seatbelt law. We don't have a helmet law for motorcycles. I have a hard time believing that we're going to mandate that people use these smart cars, intelligent cars, when we have all these people that like to drive the antique cars. Are they gonna retrofit those with that intelligent technology? I have a hard time believing that. I'd love to say, yes, we have some method of doing this, but at this time, we don't.
All right, folks, I'm gonna take a call, a question from John.
I didn't have one, I was just,
Then I saw this gentleman who's standing up had his hand up first. Can you?
I'm Larry DeLander from the Newfoundland. He's constantly talking about safety issues. Taking in consideration the safety of bicyclists or motorcyclists. Bicyclists cannot ride on those rumble strips. They cannot cross them almost without falling down. Same way with motorcyclists. 3A is a bikeless, New Hampshire bikeless route. So we're talking about all these safety issues and how many people you're putting in harm's way.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair, you really, because we have to do this like a
Yeah, you should,
public hearing, you have to have our main speaker speak.
oh,
Ron hasn't gotten to speak yet.
Yep, sure.
That's what we have.
Well, I
on
was
the-
speaking for the department,
Okay,
so I
so-
mean,
oh,
Ron,
no,
if you have
that's
anything
fine.
else to add, or, I mean, you have the
Okay,
statistics and stuff.
then that's
but,
fine.
At this time, I'm just gonna, I'll take notes.
I'm just following the format of the,
Yep,
of a public
understood,
hearing.
sure.
That's all.
I have a
Okay.
question. Aren't there other more passive solutions that you could employ other than rumble strips, such as maybe lowering the speed limit a little? I know that distracted driving is a serious problem.
No, that had come up in the meeting there about lowering the speed limit, and, there are criteria that are used to set speed limits, and if you set speed limits artificially low, they're unenforceable. That's the way it works, so.
Explain that, how you decide? It was interesting.
Mr. Chair.
hey,
Sorry,
folks, we should
do
have
have to-
one person speak at a
and
time.
we need a
and-
name, we have to record the name.
Yeah, and we want a name, so, I think this lady here had her hand up next. Could you identify yourself, please?
I live off Stinson Road, so Edwards Lane. And about the rumble strip, since they paved Morse Road, it seems that more traffic comes off Bell and onto Morse Road, and there's a lot of families on Morse Road and little children, and they're driving very fast on that road to avoid the rumble strips. They're using that as a cut through to get into town more quickly. So I see a lot more traffic. I walk my dog on Bell Road all the time in that area since they put the rumble strips in. And my house is almost a mile maybe from Route 3, and I can hear the rumble strips loud and clear. My concern is the bicyclists, basically, and the families from the people speeding through the area now to avoid it.
What was the name of the road?
I live on Edwards Lane, but
Edwards
it's
Lane,
off
okay.
Stinson, which is off
Okay.
Bell, which is off Morris. Everybody knows where I live. Thank Thank you.
I'm a resident of Morse Road. Would have loved to have been notified.
Sir,
Name?
give your name,
Jim
please.
Adams,
Thank you.
79 Morse Road. I'm about 2/10 of a mile from Route 3A. Would have loved to have been notified. Would have loved to have heard hearings, because frankly, that sound from my house, which is 2/10 of a mile from the road, is easily, you can hear it easily. So if you don't have an air conditioner on or a fan on, and it's midnight, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., you get to wake up to hear that sound that shakes the house, wakes the dog, wakes the cats. Honestly, I would have loved to have had some input on this. We have these towers, these wind towers that are right near my house that I was assured I couldn't see from my house. Well, I can see 6 of them from my house. And I'm sure that if we had this hearing, we would have had an opportunity to say, what does an 85 decibel horn sound like coming from Route 3A near the convenience store or near the storage center or whatever? That travels a long way. Frankly, it's cruel. How many nights do I have to not get a good night's sleep before the state will do something and either allow us input or take something out that wasn't necessary? Been a taxpayer since '91. I don't remember ever an accident on 3A, and I've been here for 25 years.
Well, thank you, sir. In the back there, I think you...
Yes, my name is Slade Warner, resident of Plymouth. I fortunately don't have to listen to the rumble strips, but I have plenty of friends who do. And they're kind of a little baggy under the eyes. But I came here, I have a couple comments, and I'll try to make it quick. Two-wheeled vehicles. Whether you're a bicyclist, it hurts to hit the ground. So if you're a motorcyclist, it really hurts to hit the ground. We welcome Motorcycle Week. We're trying to encourage tourism. I own a bicycle shop. I'm trying to make a living with bicycles. All this stuff is obviously a huge issue to me. I also wonder if the DOT has done any kind of research as to how quickly roads are going to deteriorate when I went and looked, you've gone through the new pavement into the old pavement, which means this winter all the water's going to sit in these hundreds of thousands of pools and it's going to freeze and there's going to be a broken line down the middle and the side, which is going to make cycling even less pleasant. I've read a lot of research. States that allow rumble stripes on the white line require a minimum of 6 feet, 7 feet if there's a guardrail. Nowhere is that happening here in Plymouth. So as a cyclist, you say, Tenny Mountain Highway, there's plenty of room, but people pull over to talk on their cell phone. I'm forced into the travel lane over the rumble strip, which is almost a foot wide, 12 centimeters deep, back again. It's going to happen over and over. People are going to go down. There's going to be injuries. I can't imagine on a motorcycle having to make a panic maneuver over the yellow line and back to avoid something, especially if it's wet. People are going to die as a result of these. So I understand, and I've read the statistics that, 30 to 40% of accidents from ROR, which is runoff road, or head-on, are averted. But if people are being killed on bicycles and motorcycles, then I don't know, do we come out ahead or behind? But I'd rather not hit the turf. And I really am curious to see, we know how the roads fare in the winter around here. So if you dig through 2 or 3 layers of pavement and create thousands of pools for freezing water, I picture in 2 years just a trench of trashed pavement from the plows. So I will leave it at that.
We can very, very quickly. We do have a record of rumble strips on the interstate, and the pooling of water or the grinding of them doesn't lead to necessarily adverse deterioration. Part of the criteria is if there isn't a thick enough pavement course on there, that's one of the criteria for either considering or not considering them. And some of the again, the guidelines have been evolving. Earlier ones didn't have. We've made adjustments working with the bicycle groups to put in 20 or 40 foot,
12-foot gaps for
12-foot gaps and everything. Part of the concerns about the bicyclists in other areas of the state have were part of the consideration of putting in the rumble stripes versus keeping them a foot or 2 off the white line like on the interstate. So we're cognizant of your concerns and trying to address them.
I've also read up on the gaps, and it's all fine and well if it happens to line up with the moment that you see a broken bottle and you get out, and then we're in the travel lane and okay, gotta get back in. That's not a terribly safe situation. So if they happen to line up, that's all fine and well. If they don't, you're gonna go down. So definitely a concern.
Thank you.
Pam?
Barbara?
Yeah. My name's Barbara Spike, and I live in Plymouth Apartments, which is right off of Fairgrounds Road. Fairgrounds Road runs exactly parallel to Tenny Mountain Highway. There are over 67 units in my area, not including other residents in the area, and also on Marie Drive across the road, which I've heard from as well. There are over 600 people, residents, in the area, just on that part of Tenny Mountain Highway. And the trucks at night going through there are incredible. As Jim had said, you can hear them hitting the rumble strips because it's too narrow, number one. That part of Tenny Mountain Highway also is already deteriorated and it's already cracked. So we're already going to have problems with the frost on top of it. And with the DOT not having taken and enforcing the area of Tenny Mountain Highway from the exit ramps onto Tenny Mountain Highway up to the 55-mile-an-hour strip, I've almost been hit several times because that is supposed to be a 35-mile, which is not posted. So that's another inherent problem that's been going on for a while.
The speed there.
The speed there, yeah, it's not enforced, it's not posted, but we know it, and very few people know that it's 35. So, thank you.
Yes, sir.
My name is John Nelson. I live at 815 Tenny Mountain Highway. I have about 3 issues. The noise is incredible because not only do we have it in the middle road, we have it right tight on the white lines on both shoulders. When I come from Plymouth to my house, I always pull tight to the center line to make a left-hand turn because the traffic out there is such that it's rare that you can just swing in. In the past, before they had the rumble strips, people would pass on the shoulder on my right-hand side a lot of times. Now, I find that people are reluctant to do that. Most, let's say, non-residents will do it because they're not maybe aware of the rumble strip, but residents, they'll stop sometimes now until I proceed into my driveway. The second thing is, in front of my driveway, we have the rumble strips, right in the center line rumble strips. In the wintertime, we go to make a left-hand turn. Let's just say I don't have to stop, and I try to cut across 2, let's say, ponds of ice because maybe they're iced up. Could be another danger there. So that's great.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Laurie Lerner. I'm from Bridgewater. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. My
If I had known you were from Bridgewater.
My concerns tonight are both with the bicycle safety, as has been mentioned, as well as motorcycle safety, of which I do both. Soon after the strips were installed on on Route 3A, my husband and I were on his motorcycle, and we were taking a left-hand turn into the Tenny Mountain Country Store. We had to cross over the rumble strip. I instantly was shocked and surprised to feel the bike lose all stability. I thought we had a flat tire. We pulled into the store, we looked back, and we saw it was due to the rumble strips. I can't even imagine a junior rider going over those rumble strips when you have really no choice. You don't even know they're there until you start crossing them if you're new to this road. The safety issue that's going to cause. From a bicycle perspective, I had heard just a week ago about the intent to install these from Plymouth all the way up to Hudson, New Hampshire, or down to Hudson. And so on my morning ride, I was very careful to observe where I had to cross over the white line. And within a very short bicycle ride, there were 3 situations, of which there are several occurrences, which I've shared this with DOT. I want to share it here tonight as well. Number 1, if there's a car pulled over, which someone has mentioned, you need to cross over that white line to go around them. There's no way you can expect a bicyclist to get off their bicycle for everything that's on the right-hand side. Number 2, there was a few walkers in the way with a stroller we had to go around. Another area, there was debris on the shoulder we had to go around. When you're on a bicycle ride, there's many times where you have to cross that white line in order to get around different things. to put a rumble strip is going to make it treacherous to the bicyclists. And even if there's brakes in them, it really doesn't matter because the brake may not be where you need to take that turn. I have found on the a document from the League of American Bicyclists. They've done a study on rumble strips, and I can forward it to the Board of Selectmen here if that would be of interest. What it states in there is virtually impossible to ride a bicycle on or over these rumble strips. They cause cyclists to lose control of their bike and fall. It's a real problem. My suggestion is for those folks at DOT, project managers and so forth, what you may want to do is get on your bicycle, try crossing those, be a bicyclist in our area, and just understand the concerns that we have. They're valid concerns. Noise is a real issue, but safety is a bigger issue. And bicyclists and motorcyclists, we don't have the protective gear that even a motorist would have. So we're already at a disadvantage here.
Yeah.
As well, in New Hampshire, as you're probably aware, there's a 3-foot law. You have to stay 3 feet from a bicyclist. There's no way on 3A, if you put them down the center line in the white line, a bicyclist will not have that 3 foot because people are not going over the center line.
Right.
So there's just there's a lot of concerns. What I've found is that these should not be installed in a recreation area, which 3A is a very high recreation area. I certainly understand them on the interstate and I support them on the interstate, but on our local roads, they just don't make a lot of sense. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Paul, did you want to? Just a sec. Did you have something?
Yes, I'd like to address Bob.
Okay.
Bob?
Oh, I'm sorry, Bill.
Sorry. Be Bob by tomorrow. When we broaden the use of something in our lives, in our careers, we're taking something that's being used for a reason, and then we say we can take advantage of this over here and over here and over here. That's when we start to broaden the scope of something. The design of a rumble strip was to get the attention of a driver for doing something that you don't want the driver to do. Now, we've already taken care of the part that we don't have a crossover problem. We've got an animal problem on all these dots, and we have left-hand turn problems. Broadening the use of the rumble strip, I'm having trouble understanding broadening the use to what? What are we using it for? Because it's only its main issue, its main usage to alert the driver.
Right.
What are we reusing it for? I really don't think that's why.
Well, like I said, I mean, I tried to explain it before. Part of the approach in broadening it was in the past we had been very reactive when there was a rash of fatal accidents on Route 16, on Route 2029, on Route 101. We came in after the fact because of this spate of very severe accidents, and we're reactive to that and putting them in after the fact.
Exactly.
Part of what we're trying to do here is to be more proactive, and we were looking at it statistically based on the overall corridor and the traffic, and then did some rating.
But you're saying you're still putting them in to stop traffic from crossing over.
We're putting them in to improve safety, to eliminate head-on collisions, to eliminate run-off the road accidents.
In an area where we've shown that we don't have.
Well, again, like I said, it's hard to predict where such accidents are going to happen. That's why we look statistically. And I'm not going to argue with you. I know you do.
We're both in government, and we both have budgets. I think we do use trends for our budget, and I think we have to use trends. And if we don't have a trend, I don't think we squirrel away our budget that way.
And I would say, listening to the concerns when we were out at the meeting the other night, certainly get a much better appreciation of, when we're looking at it as just a statistic, it's one thing. Then when we're looking at it and hearing about a lot of these other, and I won't say other uses, but I guess about these uses that we didn't necessarily fully factor in. The pedestrians, the recreational use, that it is much more of a residential feel, even though it's not a residential road. So
I think we haven't factored in habit, because I can predict. I bet our first accident out there will be from somebody from another state that's used to driving down 93 and rumble strips there, but somebody from another state passing down 25 or 3A and not used to having that happen.
Yeah. I will say, I mean, after the things, when we had some stuff, you know, there is, I don't know how it feels, but we did look at that 2-mile section. There've been, what date does it go back to? 2005. There's been 30 accidents. There was one fatal accident out there. I don't have the detail of evaluating all of the accident reports to find out the exact cause, but there, like I said, there have been, and you have the chart there, and
We've got it.
what the actual result is, but
And there wasn't a problem, and that's why I still,
I don't know what the cause was. I know there was at least one fatal accident.
there was one fatal, but.
One in
but-
2015.
But the rumble strip wasn't gonna stop that one from happening. And we can't get into the details, and you know that,
Yeah.
but the rumble strip wasn't gonna stop that one. So there's been one and no others.
Yeah.
And yet there's a rumble strip down there.
Sir?
Max Legger, I live over on Tenny Mountain Highway.
Yes, hi.
Basically, I'm in favor of rumble strips on Interstate 93 for safety purposes. But bottom line is, you violated all your regulations, you didn't inform the town, you didn't inform the people, your statistics are flawed, and you used the ploy of safety in order to get the rumble strips. If you go on the internet, and they tell you exactly on there, every state, use safety as an issue, and everything will go away, and it's not gonna go away here. You put them in, you're flawed, the bottom line is, remove them. And that's it. You keep having meetings here, what good are the meetings gonna do? Who's gonna make the decision, you or the director?
We will, between myself and the Commissioner Sheehan.
You were the director.
Between myself and the Commissioner, we'll make the final decision.
Why isn't the commissioner here?
We're keeping her very informed.
You're keeping her informed, but why, we keep
She's
having
busy lady.
meetings,
She has
it's
other
not
things
doing
to-
any good.
No, it is doing good, it is doing good. You know, we didn't want to make a knee, I understand, we didn't want to make a knee-jerk reaction. I assure you, we're listening carefully. I've kind of laid out what we were thinking, and certainly when I had mentioned on 3A about either striping out the passing zones or removing them, I heard loud and clear what the feedback was from the thing. Understood. Yeah.
All right.
Where Yetton's oil tanks are, and I have to listen to trucks coming in day and night. There's an auto body place across the street, I have to listen to that. Sanborn Road is over there, you have the rumble strips, you didn't even leave a pass-through over there, so I've got it in 6 different places. And, you know, I mean, I've got a bad leg, I'm up all night trying to go to sleep, now I gotta take Advil PM, and you're gonna make me a drug addict. You know? You know, and then,
Let's start to wind this down. Commissioner, there was a gentleman behind you who had his hand up for quite a while. If you could, you're good? I should say counselor. I called you commissioner, I'm sorry.
Please don't call me commissioner tonight.
No.
This situation all came before me probably the second week in June in Alton, when Roberts Knowles Campground had a big hearing on rumple strips. Subsequently, DOT was there, Bill and his team. They took notes. These public hearings are very insightful and very productive, I will say that. The other thing that occurred subsequently after John Giovanni at his farm had almost 100 people there to talk about the 3A rumple strip situation, with the understanding that there would be some corrective solutions that would be brought back to Alton at their Board of Selectmen meeting, and hopefully this input tonight, with a subsequent meeting, they would come back here with some solutions. My take on all of this is I'm a New Hampshire guy, and there should be public hearings for any transportation project that impacts a community. We do it for bridges, we do it for major road projects, we do it for major utility projects. So rumple strips, really, I've asked the commissioner to put that as a requirement anytime that she does a project of this nature, that there be a public hearing be held. The other thing I would just mention is that in Alton, they did also add that they wanted the rumple strips out of the passing lanes because they thought that that was a safety issue as well. Obviously, DOT is trying to roll this back into a solution for both communities. And I can tell you that Bridgewater and Bristol doesn't even want rumple strips heading in their direction. So when I asked 3 weeks ago at a Governor Council breakfast, Commissioner, put a moratorium on this stuff until we get it right. I take it they put a moratorium on it. And so every breakfast meeting, I talk to Commissioner Shaheen, let her know that my citizens both in Plymouth area, Bristol, Bridgewater, and beyond, and in the Alton area, are concerned about this topic and that we need to get it right for the New Hampshire citizens. Because we know, as you go north of Concord, we're a different state. We're residential. We're not interstate Nashua or, Portsmouth. We're real New Hampshire. We're the Lakes region. We're the North Country. So we just expect a lot more input into those types of projects. I think DOT's got the signal. They're hearing it, and they're trying to roll it back into a solution for the communities involved. So yes, I apologize personally, along with the DOT, for the interruption. I didn't know about it until the second week in June. It obviously went through Governor Council as a contract, but at that point, it's out of our hands. I knew they had some public hearings in southern New Hampshire, but they didn't come north. So we'll get it right, we'll fix it, and if you don't think it's right, call me, email me, and I'll go to the commissioner, because guess who appoints the commissioner? I do. The Governor and Council with 3 votes appoints a commissioner, assistant commissioner. So while they're accountable to us, I'm accountable to you. So please feel free at any time that you think there's something awry here, once we come back with solutions, to contact my office. And that guy's name in the governor's office is Ben Belanger. And he should never, no one should ever call a governor's office and not have a last name to give it. When someone doesn't give you a last name, they're trying to hide. And I will never hide from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
Go ahead.
I got in from working in my yard, and I sat down with you supper, and I was listening to this whole thing going on. I can actually hear the rumble strips from 93 at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning if I'm awake and my bedroom windows are open. In the town of Plymouth, if we have a problem with college students or anybody else throwing off firecrackers, which wakes me up instantly, I can call the PD. And they try to find out and get it stopped. I have a suggestion for a quick cure on this. Can we have this gentleman's phone number? And every time someone get cured.
Yeah. And they're not in front of their houses either.
Well, I realize that.
Yeah.
All right.
And it's not in front of my house because I live in an in-town street where they're supposed to do 25 miles an hour. But it just, I can literally hear it, and I live up by the hospital. I can literally hear it in the night when the town is quieted down. I can hear the rumble strips from 93 clear to my house, especially if a big truck hits it.
All right, I think we've aired this out pretty well, and I think the
What is
folks
his
from...
phone number? Oh,
I tried that, he puts it on, shuts it
Come
off.
on.
Shuts it off.
So we're all set with this?
I'd like to
Thank
say
you.
one more thing, Mike. You've heard the citizens.
Yes.
Get them off the roads. Get the strips off the roads. Let these people...
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we find out who the politician is or who the person was that came up with this idea? Is it the commissioners?
No. It was a department project. I'm not gonna. It was a programmatic decision as part of our safety improvement program. It was vetted through the commissioner's office, and it was approved. I wouldn't say it was any one person held accountable. My boss is Commissioner Sheehan.
All right.
Make a comment, Mike.
But I would say, I mean, I wouldn't.
I just
it
have
was,
something.
It's not Ron's. It's a programmatic decision. It was vetted through the department.
We really, We really need to,
I'm the chief engineer, you hold me accountable.
all right, this woman is like
This is very
waving her
brief. I
hand.
just want to know when we hear back, or what's
Okay.
the progression of this, that's all.
Yep, no,
When are they
we
gonna
want to
be
get back
going?
this week with everybody. But one thing, as this has grown, as this has got bigger, one of the things we're working on is, and your comment about timeliness is one of the things that we're concerned about. We want to have answers for people. I'm pretty sure I know what our decision is, how long it's going to take to remediate them, because this has gotten bigger. It's one thing when we're talking about a few areas where there were bypasses or shoulders and intersections, as people are talking about, you know, removing them for the full 8 miles and going back and, like you said, walking it backwards. I want to have answers for folks, and I can't say that it's going to be done tomorrow. It's going to be a lot bigger project to remove them. We're going to work on it. I'm going to get you answers. We're going to figure out how it's going to be addressed. And that's what I'm saying. I can't tell you that. I don't have those answers.
Joe, the citizen, can't you do it tomorrow?
I don't have a contractual mechanism. I don't have a contractor to do that. That's what we're trying to line up and get on board.
Your own words when you were.
Wait a minute.
So, please. And I can talk to folks off the line here. I don't want to hold up your meeting as well.
Well, I mean, the thing is, the process is, if somebody wants to say something, you're supposed to address the chair, raise your hand, not get involved in this, you know, back and forth arguing, which, I mean, this gentleman has been good enough to come here and tell us his whole story, pretty much, I think, and what he's trying to do. He is not ultimately the guy with the shovel that fills in the hole. So I think, it sounds to me like, you know, they're trying to make some progress and trying to help out here, so I think they've heard us all loud and clear, so I don't know why somebody has to say something else, but if there's one more, I will tolerate one more, and then we need to move on.
If I may, Laurie Lynn from Bridgewater. I'd just like to ask, how will the response be communicated to everybody?
I know there's a lot of key contact folks. One of the one that we met at the, first and foremost, we would do it formally in writing to the Board of Selectmen, because we were at this meeting. That would be, you know, copied, disseminated. Ron has a lot of people's emails, contacts that have been in touch with him. Certainly, I know Sylvia in Alton, and who was it? You had a couple of key contacts after the meeting here in Plymouth as well, too, so we'll advise everybody that way.
As soon as the board gets that, I'll put it on Channel 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, you have a
And we
public
do-
access station.
We do have a website as well, and we'll include that as part of the letter to the select boards. the
So I think the answer from us is that as soon as we have some information from DOT, we'll post it on the town's website, and then we'll make sure that we announce
And
it
Channel 3.
at our subsequent meeting.
And Channel 3.
And Channel 3. Oh, yeah, I said website. I meant, yeah, Channel 3 website and our next meeting. Okay?
Good. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks.
Okay, Joe.
Looks like a minute.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks. Thanks, Bill.
What do we do without you in your life? So what makes you think you're next?
Two guys from DOT went very well. Two guys from DOT went.
I just wanted to thank the guy for his sincere, forthright manner. I appreciate that.
What wasn't said was that in 2015, public noticing was like robbed. So they should have defended it, but there's like little, you know, even if they defended it, they couldn't really win.
So,
All right, can we get back to work here? Joe, we have a purchase order for a chipper rental. right?
Does he do the service?
Machine that stays at our facility.
Here, we're in the
And it's
court.
done on an hourly basis, which seems like a lot of money. But
Yeah, and you know, like,
Folks?
make them go out.
He services the machine?
well, no, we service it, but whatever it needs, we send him a bill, and he pays that. So we've done this for probably 4 years now, but this is the highest bill because since we've gone from since we've got the new guy on board and gone from a flat, budget, we've had more money, we've had more time to get out there and try to get our roads back. So we're actually almost to the point where we have too much firewood now. So
What is,
Can
what
you
does
sell
a
it?
chipper run to buy one?
well, when we cut all the stuff on the side of the road, we run it through it,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Right, but I'm saying if we bought a chipper for the town, I mean, what are they?
no, you're talking
50?
more.
How much?
What's this?
50's the bottom line.
Is this
like
10,
bottom.
12 inch?
That's not the big cat or anything, that's just a,
Okay.
What's the capacity?
We can probably take a 8-inch
Yeah.
log, and anything more than that, we cut it up for firewood anyways, so.
we've looked into purchasing one over the years before.
It's still in the works, but we just have more important things.
They're high maintenance.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, do we have a motion to approve Joe's purchase order for
I move we
chipper
approve
rental?
this purchase
Motion
order,
by
or this.
Neil, second by John. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Then Joe has the next item here is accept bid recommendation, approve purchase order to Brandon Hiltz Construction, Inc. to replace the failed culvert at Oak Ridge Road in the amount of $9,529.20.
So it's more than just it's a pretty good sized project because the culverts failed and we just keep filling in the middle. But the way the road's laid out, there's three different, it's like a set of fingers, there's like three different avenues of water coming down off Oak Ridge.
Mm-hmm.
And it's trying to come through this 24-inch culvert, which is on the wrong angle. It's perpendicular to Thurlow Street, and there's another culvert that comes down and lands in that same pool. So it all lands in one area, and it just spins around like a cyclone, and it more or less undermines instead of trying to go through. So we're gonna change the angle, and if you try to drive off the corner of that road, it's like a huge drop off. So we originally thought about putting a head wall there, a concrete wall, but then we came up with the idea of putting a big concrete structure so with a smaller opening, so we can tie stuff in and then do away with, so people won't just drive off the end of the road. And so there's a lot involved to it.
So, did I see somewhere that there's other money involved besides this 9,500? Oh,
No,
there's
there
a
was four
list.
different bids.
9,200.
Or nine, I'm sorry.
Is this a drop inlet?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other three bids, are they?
Well, yeah, most of them are pretty compatible. There was one high one, but this is Out of all the, all the bids, this is the one that we chose to.
Oh, I see, okay, I didn't understand. I thought you had, the project was bigger than this and you had other
No.
work to do, but you have 4 different bids and
Four
this was
bids,
the
and this
low
is the
one.
one that we chose.
Okay, I'm sorry, yep.
They ripping the street up?
Just the width of the culvert. They're gonna, that asphalt's included in patching it back together.
All right, so, any questions for Joe? Any discussion about this bid? Does somebody want to make a
I move
motion?
that we approve this bid from Brandon Hills Construction.
A second.
For $92.59.20.
So we got a motion by Neil, second by Mike. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, that bid is approved.
Okay.
There you go. Thank you for
gentlemen.
coming in, Joe,
Good night.
and wading through
Sure.
the hearing or the other stuff.
Aye.
Jesse. How are you?
Good, how about you?
Good.
Good.
You think we really need to fix that roof?
We do.
Paul's been talking about that for years.
The other purchase orders that you see coming, and starting with Jesse, we're starting to use a $2 million bond
Yeah,
that we took out. So this is the first one.
right. All right, well, tell us about your bid.
It's a up to $60,000 bid. I've received 3 bids. I'm recommending B.R. Jones Roofing. They were the company that actually replaced the upper roof of the transfer station, and now they are the lowest one. They put in the lowest bid out of 3.
Oh, I see, they gave you a bid of 51, but it's not too, why is it not too, why up to 60?
The steel decking that is part of the roof, depending on if it has deteriorated, if it needs to be replaced, that's where
So they've told you, they've given you a bid of this 51,760, but said it won't exceed 60 if they do have to replace some of the steel decking, is that?
No, they didn't say that to exceed 60,000. It was, they gave me a bid of 51,760, and if deck replacement, I'm just putting a buffer in there, so if there is decking that needs to be replaced.
All right. Have you got any idea? I guess you don't know until you know how much of it.
Right, there's a couple layers of membrane that needs to be removed to get to that membrane, or to get to the decking.
Okay, is this, do you have any comment about the fact that it's, more than the bid?
It's not more
Does that
than the
make,
bid.
well, it says up to
Up
60.
to, because we always put in that buffer, and we're going by how much it costs us to do the other roof, without being able to see what we have underneath that membrane.
Yeah.
Could be an extra, huh?
I mean, if it has to go more than that, if it has to be 70, guess he'll be coming back to you with another purchase order for 10.
Yeah.
So that purchase order allows him to spend up to that amount.
All right, so, I don't know, so there's a bid for 51,760 to do this roof, which was the low bid. We've got a purchase order for not to exceed 60 to take account of the fact that there could be some repairs necessary underneath the roofing when it's removed.
So you're voting to accept the bid
Yep.
So moved.
and the
Right.
purchase order.
Second.
So we got a motion and a second by Bill and Neil. There's no further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you.
Two. Thanks.
Thank you, Jesse.
Juliet.
Hi.
Wow.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Haven't seen everybody in a while. Okay.
Are you running on remote control over there or something? How's the TV working? You just leave it on?
Andrew's in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right,
Yeah,
so, you've got a bid here for Access AV to purchase some AV equipment, I'll bet.
Yep.
For a total amount of $30,558. The largest piece of which is a I don't know, what is that?
So this is the, this whole system is the main system that the videos are played through. It's a server down at the station. So it's the big item. And it's 10 years old, and so it's time to, replace it. So I looked at some compares, we looked at replacing it with the same sort of system that we have now, which is a Nexus. But that would be about the same price, and it wouldn't have all the bells and whistles that this unit has. This one is extremely versatile, just why we went with it. And that's, we have some other, I have some other comparison ones which are more expensive and have an ongoing cost of like extra thousands of dollars each year. This one doesn't have any extra costs, so it was the best thing.
Seemed like the best
Yeah.
bang for your buck, huh? And so tell me again, this is the machine that plays the stuff onto the Channel 3?
Got it. Yeah, it's a server,
Yeah.
and it's purpose-built. It's got, a lot of components in the back that feeds into the fiber optics, so it's a very custom-built system. It's Linux-based.
And that's, that's 90% of the cost, and the rest of it is just, I imagine, accessories or
Yeah,
things
this
that
is
go along
sort of
with it,
just
right?
the stuff that goes with it.
Now, what kind of shape are we going to be in with our audio-video equipment when you're done with this, presuming we approve it?
It will be a better resolution. It should be a clearer picture. If you notice now, compared to, comparing our channel to the other channels, it's not quite, there. So we will have a better picture because of the way it's down converted, which we can't do now. But with this system, we will be able to down convert.
But I sort of meant in terms of the other equipment that you have and, the overall physical plant. Do we have other things that are obsolete that you think need to be replaced or should be replaced maybe if we could afford it? Or how does the whole thing look?
Oh, it's shaping up. Yeah, we just got a couple new, we got some new audio equipment in there, which Andrew is diligently working on meshing with our system, and we're getting, we have new cameras as well.
Oh, really?
So we're going to be installing those. Be a better, so that will all contribute to, an improved picture.
Okay.
So.
Anybody have any other?
Sound? Audio, it says
Sound.
here, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, the audio will probably be a little bit improved, but through this system, but we are looking at improved equipment in there, which will also contribute.
I've heard people say that the audio is not that good, right? That sometimes you can't hear. Is that true?
Yep.
And is that more a matter of the microphones or the way the stuff is made?
For a fact, the microphones are pretty sensitive.
Oh.
They pick up voices when you don't expect them to.
So where did I hear that?
I don't know.
I don't know. Has anyone?
I've heard it.
Yeah.
I've listened to the programs later.
Yeah.
Just in finding something to do, and in some cases the sound is low quality, and I know I have hearing aids and I turn them up, but it's still.
Yeah, we are working on that. We have new microphones for in here for especially the audience.
Oh, okay.
So, and then with our system in there, it's digital, and it's we made sure it was the best quality. Yeah.
Well, you do a really nice job. I know it's a
Well,
lot of work.
thank you.
Thanks.
Andrew works very hard as well.
And Andrew works very hard as well.
So Mike, I had a question. So the audience, when they want to speak, may not have to come up to this microphone? We'll be able to pick them up from where they're sitting?
Sitting,
still
prefer them
Still to come up there, okay.
But in the case like today, obviously you want better audio, and then we're working on it so that it's mic'd out back to the audience as well. Like for tonight, you'd want to turn that system on so it goes through the speakers. So you could have said, "Get out, it's time to go," or whatever,
Oh.
Okay.
I make a motion that we approve the
All right.
purchase.
By
order.
Mike, second by
Second.
John. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's approved.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
And then my next one here is Chief Clogston.
there he is.
You volunteered to go last.
Yeah, you are definitely last,
Ooh.
yeah.
And you gotta go home and he knows your route. You see,
Chief,
Good evening.
good evening. So you've got two things here tonight, right?
The first one is the, basically our share of the Lakes Region Fire Mutual Aid Dispatch Services.
Which is about the same every year, right?
Yep, I think it's up by about 2%.
All right, so we've got a purchase order for the town's proportionate share of the 2016-17 Lakes Region Dispatch Services in the amount of $49,713.04. We want a motion to approve that?
Make a motion. Second.
All right, so by Bill, second by Mike, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And then secondly, Chief?
We have a purchase order for the replacement of the 2001 Crown Vic that is not going to pass inspection. Can pretty much guarantee that with all the rust that's on it. This is something that we put in the capital improvement fund to replace it. I was, currently the quote in front of you is under the state bid. They actually have this one in the lot today. Currently it's black and white, but the white is vinyl and they can peel it off.
Oh.
If it's gone and we have to order, the price would be relative the same because they just spec them out, the base price and then the little add-ons that they put in.
All right, so we have a purchase order for $27,727 to purchase a 2016 Ford Police Interceptor utility vehicle to replace the 2001.
The old Crown Vic.
The old Crown Vic.
The old Crown Vic, and I'm just guessing on the year of that, so.
Oh, okay. So we have a motion to approve this purchase order.
I make a motion to approve it.
By Mike, second by Bill, it looks like. He was.
Yeah, I was gonna have a comment, but.
I'll second it.
Sure.
So he seconded. Do you want to make a comment?
Yeah, they had $895 for the vinyl word wrap of the.
What are you gonna do, paint it red?
We're paying for the.
Actually, it's black. We've been doing pretty good.
You gonna
with-
leave it black? Yeah.
And the
No, but-
the lighting system
Yeah,
that's gonna
they're
go in
doing
it,
is,
we're gonna make it so that if
whatever.
PD needed to use it.
Different colors.
For the word wrap. What's the?
They all cost the same, right?
That second
These are
list,
just like,
those are options, and the
Okay.
first one that I'm looking for is the one that's already been ordered, and I believe a
Gotcha.
town couldn't pay for it, so that one is, basically, it is what it is. If we had to go and order one, then here's the base price up top, and then here's all the options you can put into it.
okay.
All
All
right?
right.
All right, so if there aren't any other questions, we'll vote on that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right.
Thank you very much.
Chief. Thanks for coming in. I know it's late.
I'd like to point out the fact that he's buying a police interceptor.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's what I don't have fire interceptors because they're not cool enough.
Yeah, that's right.
Thanks, chief.
is that cool or fast?
Yes. And frankly, I'm very disappointed that members of the public didn't stay for our purchase order signing. This is very exciting business.
So
This
noted.
actually, isn't it? I mean, this is, improving the police
Good to
department.
see us spend money.
I'm trying to do that for years, right?
Yes. So, I don't know which purchase order you have
I
first.
have the 103.
Okay, first off, I would ask of the board to do a bid waiver for this purchase order, and the reason being why it's for mass construction. He's worked on the PD before. Most recently, he just did the new addition for us off the back of it. He has a great work product. every time through the step of the way. He kept me informed with everything. And he's got a good quality crew that, you know, quite frankly, they're working on a police department, so we want people we trust in there. So, so we would ask for that bid waiver first before we discuss the purchase order.
Can you tell me what the R factor of the insulation is?
It should be.
Is it in here somewhere?
It should be in there, yeah. There are 3 different options. I am going with the 6-inch spray foam. I'm going with the biggest option.
42.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty, it should be warm in there.
Wow.
I hope so. That's my goal.
Cozy.
No more gloves in the winter?
Yes, exactly.
Typing with gloves on and stuff?
No more Parkers.
And what we found out, you know, because I've had a lot of discussion with some people in town also, is that, hey, you know, you should insulate your ceiling because that's where all your heat loss is. Well, going up there, it is insulated. What happened is, when you come off the roof, there's a little bit of a curtain, like a 3 or 4 foot curtain, then it comes in and then back down. Well, that 3 or 4 foot curtain is just the metal siding. There is no insulation there.
It's
So
the
that's what
ventilation.
we're losing.
Most of the heat.
Most of it. So what he's intending on doing, he's gonna strip that off. He's gonna frame around it, so he gets something to spray foam to, resheath it, then put siding on it over
Oh,
that.
wow,
So
yeah.
he'll have to frame out that part above up there, so he'll have something to actually
So
spray foam
that,
to.
that place has like old rusty steel siding right now, right?
Correct, yes, it does.
And is it gonna have something different?
It is gonna have vinyl siding, so if somebody, well, when somebody hits it, because people hit it all the time, when somebody hits it, we can just replace that section of siding rather than, you know, a full, you know, sheet.
So they take the steel off, it's got steel studs probably, right?
Correct, and that's why he'll have to frame it out with some wood in between the steel studs and everything else like that.
So then he'll put wood studs in and then sheathe it and then
Yep.
side it, yeah.
Wood studs,
Interesting.
insulate it, sheathe it,
And the
side it.
interior walls stay?
Currently, right now, because it didn't meet the requirement for the board to sign, but we have Dave Nash from Nash Construction in there, repainting all of the walls in there, and those will be staying in there, so, and you'll see another purchase order we have coming up is to replace the ceilings. Another one that, again, didn't meet the requirement of the board to have to sign is, all the light fixtures in the hallway are being replaced, with new light fixtures and all LED, so they're way more efficient.
Nice. All right, so,
Make a motion that we allow the waiver to bid.
all right, he wanted us to, does anybody want to second the
Second.
motion to waive the bid?
And approve those purchase order?
And approve the purchase.
And approve the purchase order.
And approve the purchase order. So we have a motion by Mike and a second by John. Any further discussion on that? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oops, I'm flipping over something I gotta sign here, right? And then your second one here is Eco Electric LLC.
Yep, which is Burt Sutcliffe. And again, I am asking for another bid waiver process for this. He has done work at the PD before that. Most recently with the addition, he put a couple mini split systems in there, and the mini split system does heat and air conditioning. And what I'm requesting here with this purchase order is every single office in the building will have their own mini split system. So you'll be able to control the climate directly in your office the way you want it, and not one thermostat for 6 offices and one person down the line's freezing while the other one's burning hot. So it's to get the climate control a little bit better. And the final price, because there are rebates from New Hampshire Electric Co-op that I'm looking into, and I think ultimately if I get the rebates, I don't know if the price is on there, but it's
$4,600, yeah.
Yeah, it's like $4,600 a rebate that I would get back
Yep.
for that.
Oh, I see. So we have a, a bid waiver for the installation of mini split systems in the PD for a total amount of $22,142.55, with the possibility of a NHEC rebate, which would be credited against that if
I
you're
think it's a total
successful.
of, what did you say,
So then that says-
9 systems total in there, I think, 8 or 9, I don't know.
So is that gonna be more efficient?
They're very efficient, especially the heating portion of it. It's a heat pump. Technology extracts the heat out of the air and brings it into the room that you need it.
They're really good and they
Yeah.
last. They're
Yep.
real reliable.
Yeah.
All right, so, did we get the motion on that?
No.
No. Can we have a motion to?
So moved.
Second.
Except if, go forward with a
Bid
purchase
waiver
order and a
and
bid
the
waiver as well.
proposal, so we've got a motion
Second.
by Bill, second by Neil, all those in favor?
Aye.
And finally,
And this one does not require any bid because it's under $10,000. But this is to remove and replace the acoustical tile ceiling grid in the main part of the PD, in the main hallway. And again, part of that project attached to it is Larry Mockley will be coming to install some LED light fixtures in that ceiling grid as well.
okay, so, and that's Lacewood Group? is
That's
that-
Lacewood Group, yep. We've used Lacewood Group before. They're the ones that redid the ceiling in the dispatch center when we did that project.
So we have a purchase order here for $5,904 to Lacewood Group to remove and replace the acoustic tile ceiling in the PD.
Where are they from?
Lacewood,
Molten Borough.
It says Molten.
Molten
I was gonna say Laconia, but
Yeah.
Molten Borough, yeah, that sounds right.
So we got a motion on this?
Yes.
By Bill, Niels.
Oh, you want me to
Mike's-
second it?
Mike
Yep, go ahead,
seconded.
Neil.
Mike got it?
Neil?
All those in favor?
I got it.
Aye.
Yeah.
It's seconded.
Larry Mockley's a sub? Or
Pardon me?
Larry's a sub on this?
No,
or-
it's two different, it's kind of two different projects, although I have to have them, both contractors show up at the same time because I gotta do the work at the same time.
Okay.
So that's all it is. That's why it's just broken down like that. And I would love to invite the whole board up to the PD once we're done with all our projects, and please come up and take a look, and any member of the public, if they want to, I'll walk them through the building anytime they want to look at it. Like I said, it's going great. We're in the process of repainting right now, and things are starting to look really good, It's finally something we can be proud of a little bit,
Yeah,
so.
good. That's good. It's
And
nice
you'll be
to-
warm this winter.
And we'll be warm, yes. That's all I have.
I think you're good to go. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
And
much.
thanks
Thank
for
you.
for
Thanks.
waiting.
Yeah, right.
Oh, jeez. So do we need a non-public?
Yes.
How about our public? Can we?
Well, do we have any comment from the public tonight?
He's had an earful.
Then we'll take a motion to go into a non-public session
So moved.
Second.
by John, second by Neil. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye.